Good day, guys. In this tutorial, we are going to recreate this simple big animation. As you can see, this is a very simple one, and it's not going to take us time to recreate this animation. The essence of me choosing stuff like this is because I understand the limitation of Alight Motion and how far we can push it. Now, if we're using maybe After Effects, if you know about After Effects, then we can create a more complex stuff. But with Alight Motion, creating stuff like this is very easy. And this should also tell you something, that if you are able to create something like this in Alight Motion, that even big are using to run ads and all of that, that means you can make money, you can earn from creating stuff like this with Alight Motion. All right, so let's get started. You can say it's not going to take time. Let me play it. Okay, so this animation is not going to take us much time. All right, so in order to get started, let's create our project. But this time you have to pay attention because I want to show you something. All right, so for the project name, I'll just give this big animation. It's very important to name your project. I always say that for identification purpose. Now, for the aspect ratio, if you take a look at the sample, you can see that the aspect ratio is 4:5. It's not 1:1. So we are going with the 4:5. It's already highlighted. Now, for the resolution, you know by now that my emulator only has the 540p as its highest resolution. All right, so we're going to go with that. But like I said, on your phone, you can have something higher than that. But this is where I say you should pay attention because we'll be needing this. Now you can see under the resolution, we have composition size. Just make sure you look closely. You can see composition size and you can see the size of the composition that you want to create. Like what we have here is 540 times 675. So put that in mind. When you are creating yours might be yours will be higher than this, obviously, because you have more option. Maybe you have like 1080p or 720p. So your number will be higher than this. But this is what I have: 540 times 675. All right. So for the frame rate, we're going with the 24 frames per second. Background, we'll change the background, so no need. Now we can create our project. Okay. So now let's start by creating our background, because from the look of the animation, you can see, obviously, let's get our background ready before we can start adding this other aspect. All right, so first off, all we need to do is add a rectangle. We already know that by now, but let's just bring that in and let's fill composition area. So this is a very simple trick. It just helps us to cover the whole composition so that we can move on. All right, so now let's go to our color fill. And if you take a look at the sample, we can see that this is a gradient. It's not just a solid color, it's a gradient. So in order to add a gradient, you can just click on this. By default, it adds a linear gradient. And we are dealing with a radial gradient here. So just click this one at the middle here. Now, you can see it's not giving us what we want. So obviously we just have to manipulate it. All right, so you can just click this and drag it to the center here like this. Very simple. And the more you drag this one out, the more blurrier the two colors will be. All right. Now, this is not the color we are going for, not just black and white. So we'll just click here. And okay, before we actually choose the color, let me bring in the big logo. So I'll go to our media, and here is it. So we're going to use the color from this. All right. So we just probably scale it down. Before we scale it and reposition it, let's go back to our background. That is a rectangle. Go to our color and fill. And for the black color, we want to use this color inside, this yellow color here. So let's use our this pick with tool here. I'll call it a pen tool or anyhow. So click on it. You can see this cycle. So you can use the cycle to highlight the color you want. You see currently it's showing us black because the cycle is on the black color. So now let's move it. You can see this is what we get. All right. Now sometimes there's an issue of bug. Maybe as you highlight it, the color is not changing. So let me just click on it, go back, probably highlight it again. Color is still not changing. So in that situation, you can just click this plus button here to add it to your color palette. And you cannot click to change the color of this black gradient. So now let's go to this white one, click on it, and let's choose the same color. But this time, let's go here and let's bring this down a little bit like this. And let's change the color wheel, something like this. Okay. So I'll still bring this one down. All right, so we might not exactly get the color we have on our sample, but this is just how you go about creating something like this. Okay. Now let's go back to our logo here and let's scale it down like this and reposition it. I just position it somewhere like this. Okay. Now for the text, this is very simple stuff. Sure, by now you know how to do all of this, but let's still go ahead. Let's just enter. You will not see my keyboard because of using a system for this. Okay. Julia. All right. So for the front, I want to use the Nuneto black. But just in case you don't have this front, all your options here are limited, just go to your view of front and you can easily search for the front you want to use. All right, so let me go back. I don't know, seems like, all right. Okay, so you need to let me reopen the Alight Motion app again. All right, let's go back to the project. Okay, now go back to our test and let's just change the color to black. Not black color like this. Okay, now you can reduce the size here, which is fine. But you can go back to go to your transform and scale it down. This is fine also. Now let me go to the move and transform, and let's move this like this. Okay. Now we've arranged our background, and the outcome is just 3 layers: the shape layer with the gradient, the logo, and the text. Now you can see that the next set of animation we have is this. Okay. Now with this one, we can create it here in this main composition. But by now I'm an advocate of you putting your animations in sections. You understand? Like if you can break your animation into different parts, do it. Don't try and recreate everything in one same composition. With time, the whole composition is going to become crowded and you might not easily know what you're doing again. So in this situation, it will make a lot of sense if we recreate this part in an empty group. This one like this. We'll recreate this in an empty group to make a lot of sense like that. So, let me show you what I'm talking about. So first of all, I'll click here and I'll go to the object and element and add an empty group. Sure, you can see the outline of the empty group, but just to be on the safer side, always make sure you go back and click fit composition area. What this does is make sure that your group is within the composition. Very important. All right, so now let's go inside our group. Now this is the empty group. Now this is where we are going to create this part of the animation. You get? The reason for doing this is because, like I said, it gives you the ability to break your animation into different parts. So it is more easier for you to easily go into maybe this one. Now you want to change the pen or you want to change something else. It will be way more easier for you to do that. But if you have everything in your main composition like this, it's going to be quite difficult. So let me see, where is our group? I guess we have a glitch here. Let me go back. Okay, yes, it's all right. So now let's go inside our group again. All right, so when you create an empty group, by default, you are faced with a transparent background. In some case, you don't want that, but in this situation, we are good with the transparent background. So when you see something like this, that means the background is transparent. All right, so now let's start. Now, first off, the most important thing here is this lines. So how are we going to recreate this line? We have 3 lines here, and they are all perfectly within the composition. It's not like one line is bigger than the other line. See, 3 of them are perfectly aligned. Something like that. Okay, so that's why I say you should put that number at the back of your mind. That composition size. Mine is 540 by 675. So that's you should put that number in your mind. Now, what that 540 by 675 means is that your width like this is 540, then your height is 675. Like I said, when as you're recreating this animation on your phone, that value changes. That value might vary. Maybe if you choose 1080p, that value will change. You get? So always put that in mind. But in this situation, I'm using 540p. Like if I go to these settings, like you can see, this is the width, 540, and the height 765. All right, so this is the width and this is the height. Okay, now we're going to use this value to create 3 perfect shapes that will just fit within our composition. You get? All right, because if you don't do it that way, if you want to use your maybe you just want to magically find a way to perfectly align the 3 shapes, it might not look nice, and that makes your work look unprofessional. So the width of my composition is 540. Now, so how am I going to create 3 equally sized rectangles? It's very simple. So first off, let me bring up my calculator. Here is it. So 540 divided by 3 will give us 180. So that means the width of our rectangle that we're going to align in this composition needs to be 180. Don't worry about the height. We can just make the height go outside. But no, the height is 675. But we're not doing anything with the height. Now, in order to have 3 perfectly shaped rectangle, we need to have each rectangle needs to have the width of 180. All right, so as simple as that. But wherever your number is, that's what you divide by 3. Let's say we want 4. We divide the 540 by 4. If we want 6, we divide it by 6. All right. Now, let me bring in our rectangle. Here is it. But now, if we go to our scale and see, you can see this is not giving us what we want. It's not looking like where we put. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now, let's go back. And let's, first of all, make this rectangle fill the whole composition. So I'll click and say fill composition area. So now this rectangle covers all of this composition. Now let's go back to our move and transform, go back to our scale. You can see that what we have here in the width of our scale is 675, And what we have in the height of our scale is 675. But when we divide 540 by 3, we get 180. So that means we need to change our width to 180. But before we do that, let's untangle this so that we'll now have our width separately and our height separately. But if we don't do that, let me show you what happens if we don't untangle the width and the height. Now, let's say I now change the width to 180. You can see both the width and the height both changes. And we don't want that. We just want to change only the width. So let me undo that and untangle it. So when you untangle it, you can now change each value separately. Very important. All right, so now let's change the width to 180. All right, so you can see we now have one part of our rectangle. Now let's go to our move and transform and let's reset location. Now what this does is just to make sure that this is perfectly aligned within the composition. All right, so let's go to our column view and I'll choose this color, this one. Okay, now let's duplicate this one and let's move it. But before, always watch out for these red lines. This red lines is going to show you that you can see that you are aligned, that you're still within the composition, you're on a straight line. So very important. Okay, so before we move that, let's go to our color view and let's change it. I think this is the color we're looking for, this one. All right, but you can still go here and try to get the color. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's fine. All right, so now let's go to move and transform and let's always make sure that you're within this red line. Very important. And just a little bit, and that's it. Perfect. Okay, so now let's duplicate. Let me just duplicate this one again. And let's change this one. Before moving in, let's just change the color to blue. This one. Let me just something like this. Okay. Now let's go to our move and transform and let's just move this. Like I say, watch out for that red line. Yep. So as simple as that. Now we're able to create 3 rectangles that's perfectly aligned within our composition. It's not like one is smaller than the other one. So all you just need to do is just to do a little bit of mass, just small mass. That's it. Okay. So now let's get to let's start animating this. So it's very simple. You can see this one comes from the top, this one comes from the bottom, and why the last one comes from the side. Okay. Now all of this within 1 second, like 1 second. All right. Now let's start with this one. So probably let me move this one to the top. Let me move this one here. I'm just rearranging the layers. It's not a big deal. All right. So click on this, go to our move and transform and add a keyframe. And let's go to 1 second, add another keyframe. Now let's go back to the first one. Like this first one comes from the top. So let's move to the top. Like as always, watch out for that red line. See if you move out, see it's not looking aligned. So let's make sure that that red line is always showing. Okay, now we're outside of play. We get something like this. All right. By default, when you add 2 keyframes, by default, what you get is a linear curve. Because if I go here now, you can see we have a linear curve. But linear curve most times doesn't look pleasing to the eye. So sometimes, most of the times, you just have to play around with this. So now in this situation, I want it to start fast and slow down towards the end, something like this. So now test it out. Yeah, probably it's too much. So I'll just drag this down a little bit. See? I'll play. Okay, this looks fine. All right. From your hand, maybe you don't like this type, but you can just play around with it. And if you don't know how this works, we have a video on that, so you can just check it. Then let's check it out. All right. Now we're done with this. Now we can just copy this curve. Probably we'll use it for the other ones. Don't know. Now this next one comes from the bottom. So let's go to our move and transform. At the keyframe, go to around 1 second. And also add another keyframe. So let's go to the first one and let's just move this down. Like I said, always watch out for that red line. So with this outside like this. All right. So let us paste that curve. And let's see what we get here. All right, so now let's animate the last one, which is this one. This one coming from the side. So go to our move and transform. Our keyframe goes to go to around 1 second. Add keyframe. So let's go to the first one and move this out like this. Simple as that. All right, so if we play. All right, but okay, let's make sure we add our curve. You can see without adding our curve, you can see how boring it looks in this situation. So let's go to our move and transform, go to our curve, and let's paste that curve. So now let's play them all together. You can see. So, but if we take a look at our sample, yeah, you can notice that the whole animation don't happen at the same time. Look like this one starts before this one, then this one. There's a slight variation. So we can easily replicate that easily by just clicking and hold. And maybe let us drag this to around, let me drag to around 6 frame. That's how it works. Then drag this one to around 12 frame. Okay, so now if I play. All right, looks nice. Let me play this again. Okay. Now you can see so I think the animation is quite similar to what we have. Okay. Now, as this stuff is animating in, the text is also animating in. Okay, so now let's start adding the text. So let's move to around somewhere here when the audio animation has stopped. And let's add the first one, which is shade. First one is shade. All caps. Right? So shade. All right, so for the front, we'll use the little black this time again. Probably you can go choose a more thicker front, but for now, this we do. And for the color, with white. All right, now let me just bring this like in like this. Like this. Okay, now this time I'll use the scale and the position. So now let's go to our rotation and just make this 90 degree. And let's move this like this. See, this red line is very helpful. This red line is telling us that this text layer is it's at the center of this shape. That's fine. That's good. Now we can go to our scale and just scale this up like this. So okay, just scale this up. So maybe this font is not the exact font that Big used, but at least get the job done. All right. So for this one, we will duplicate it again and move it like this. You can see that line is also helpful. It's showing us that this text layer is within this red rectangle. Very important. But this time we just need to change the text to, okay, yeah, shade, and what was the last one? Let's just duplicate this one again. And spark. So you see, always make sure that you watch out for the thread line. Like I say. So and spark. So let's go back to our edit text and just change this to spark. Okay. Simple as that. All right. Now, based on what we have here, you can see that when all of these are stopped animating, that's when our text starts animating in plus the images plus the items. All right. So let's start animating our text. First of all, the shade animates in, the shapes animate in from the top, and the spark animates in from the bottom. All right. Now, so that means where our text layer is perfect. It's perfect here, just right after this whole animation is done. So let me play that again. Okay. So now the reason why you are seeing it like this is because there's no animation on it yet. So now let's start. Let's just add a marker here so that we can, can move through it easily. So now let's start with the shade. The shade animates in from the side. Very simple. So we can just go to move and transform, add a keyframe, go forward to around 1 second to a frame like this, add another keyframe. Nice. I made this whole animation 1 second long. We can bring it down if we test it. So now let's go back to the first one. All right. So probably we can see, let's put our keyframe and just drag it out a little bit. Sometimes we have these glitches. So make sure that this playhead is on the keyframe. Very important. So now we can just push this out like this. Okay. So now for play. All right. It's probably a little bit too slow. If I take a look at the sample, that's it. It's a lot more faster. Now we can easily solve this by manipulating our curve and also bringing this keyframe in. So let me bring this in to around just 2 seconds. You can see that means our animation for the text is just half a second long. If you don't know about all of this, we have a video on timeline. You can just check it out. It's very simple. Okay, so now we'll bring this in like this. Now let's work on the graph editor. So go here. You can see by default it's linear, like I said. So we can just make it start fast and slow down. Very simple. I'll still bring this down. So let's say it goes. Okay, I think I want to make it a lot more dramatic like this. So let's see. All right, looks fine. Looks fine. So now let's copy this one. Copy. We'll use it for the shapes and the rest. All right. So now let's go to our shape. Now the shape comes from the top, animates in from the top. So let's go to our move and transform, add the keyframe. Now you can see that the duration of each this text layer animation is half a second. So that's 12 frames. So if we look from here, from this 1 second 12 to 2 seconds, that is half a second. All right. So let's add another keyframe. Let's go to the first one and let's move this up like this. Okay. Now let us go to our curve and let's paste this. Right. So now let's test it out. All right. Probably we'll move it around, but for now, let's animate the last one, which is this one, sparkle. Spark animates from the bottom. So now let's go to the move and transform, add a keyframe, go to around 12 seconds, 2 seconds, add another keyframe. So let's go to the first one. Let's just bring this down. I said, always watch out for that red line. So it's outside. Just so you can see what's going on. Let me just zoom this, and do that. Just want to zoom this out and do a bit. Okay, like this, so that I can see what's going on. So let's go back here. And something like this. All right. Now let's paste that curve. Paste. Okay. So now let's play the animation again. Okay, but this time you can see that from the sample we have here, the animation, all the animation didn't just come in at the same time. Again, so there's different time for this. So it's very simple. Just the same offset we do here. It's what we're going to do here. Now, for the shade, for the For the second one, we just have to bring it, drag it forward a little bit, just so that it starts when this one ends. Now for this last one, the spark, we also bring it out so that it starts when the shapes also, the shape stop animating. So now let's see what we got. Simple as that. Very simple layer offset. You get. Now, just as all of this was animated in the shape layers too, and its image layers was also animated in. Now, I already have this. I already have all of these. I've downloaded a similar image, so I can just import them in. Now, from the end, you can go to PNG Wing or search on Google to get images like this that you can use. All right. So now let me go to the media, and you can see here's it. Now let's start with the pen. I only find a black pen, though I love black pen, so that's why. Now just go to our rotation and let's just make this -90, and probably just scale. Maybe we can just scale it up. Okay, go to our movement transform and just reposition it like this. So let's move it forward just when all of these text has animated. Now let's just scale this up a little bit, and okay, this like this is fine. Okay, now we have our pen brought in. Let me go back here and also import the shade stick. Though I can't find something like this, so I found this one. Still a big product, so you just have to use it. Now let's go to move and transform, and let's also make this one. Let's make this 190. Go to our move, and let's just, probably we don't need to scale this one up. You can scale it up too. Probably I'll just scale it up a little bit. I want to maintain the aesthetics, so I'll just scale this one down like this. Good. All right. Now the last one is the lighter and the spark, whatever. So I found this one and we're going to use this one. So this one is quite big. So just scale it down a little bit. Hopefully this one will work. So just bring it up like this. So the issue is this one is going to even cover, let me say, if bring it from, it's going to even cover everything. But that's fine. Okay. So now we have all the image aligned, but you can see that there is no animation yet. Now, from the sample, you can see when you see in this situation, we are recreating our animation. But most of the time, you'll be the one to come up with this creative decision. This decision is going to be yours. You'll be the one to say, okay, let me animate this one in, or let me animate this one out. Okay, it's time to bring this one in. So what makes this a lot easier is because we are actually recreating an animation. You get? So the decision of you animating this one in first, animating this one is going to be yours when you are creating your own personal project or wherever. So I just have to explain that actually. No, well, for me, I might decide to say, okay, maybe I'm the one doing this animation. I might decide to animate the middle one in first, then animate this one, then animate this one. But it's because we are creating this animation, I just want to follow what we have in our sample. You get? But when you are recreating this animation from your head, I would like you to sprinkle your own creativity in this. You get? It's very, very important. You know, so that it gives you that sense of how it's going to be when you start working on your own project or on a commercial project. So very important. Now, for this, as before the spark start animating, the pen actually has already started animating already. So we might not follow this exact same style, but wherever. So let's start animating the pen in around this point. Even at that, when we start animating each of this layer is up to you. It's up to you. You can see in this situation, I'm not even looking at when the pen start animating in. I myself decided to say, okay, let me start animating in the pen in around this point. Okay. And one thing is, after doing that, you can also go back and move it around. Like, okay, no, I don't want it around this point. I want it around this point. So that's that. Now, click on the pen and go to our move and transform, add a keyframe, and we go forward to probably around to 20. Add another keyframe. So let's go to the first one, and let me just bring this down. Like I said, always maintain that red line. Okay. Now let's go to move and transform. And let me made a mistake. Wherever, let me rearrange this curve. Start fast and slow down towards the end. So let's see, like this. Right, that's fine. That's fine. Well, let me just drag it out a bit. All right, so let me just copy this curve. We're going to use it for the other ones. So copy. Okay. Now, when this one starts animating in, you can see this one animates in there. The light also animates in. So like this. So at this point, we can start animating in our shaving stick. So go to our move and transform, add a keyframe, and let me just go forward to around 3 seconds, probably 3 seconds, 7 frame. That's fine. Add another keyframe. So let's go to the first keyframe and let us bring this down. Always maintain that red line, very important, like this. So let's go in between and let's just paste that curve. So let's test it out. Probably it's too fast, so we can just hold our keyframe here and probably move it to around 3 seconds, 10 frame. So let's see again. Fine. So say around somewhere here, 371, 1 frame. Let's start animating our lighter. So click on the lighter, go to your move transform, add a keyframe, and let's go forward to around 3 seconds to a frame. Add another keyframe. So go to the first one and let's just bring this down. Like I said, always maintain that red line. Make sure that red line is showing like this. Okay. Now let's paste that curve. Okay, so now let's test out our animation. Simple as that. All right, but now you can see that we have irregular layer length. So now to solve all of this, what we need to do is go to the end of our timeline. Probably just make this the whole thing 7 seconds long. Okay, so let me stretch this layer to around 7 seconds. So we have this. Now let's select all the layers and click to make sure that all the layers are brought to where your player is, are stretched to where your player is, or let's extend to where your player is. Now, if you don't know about how to work with layers, we also have a video on that, so you can just check it out and don't forget to like it. So now, here's it. Simple as that. Now, that's what we have for this part. All right, so that's that. Now let's go back to our main composition. You can see we now have this. So what we need to do, because if you take a look at the sample, you can see that the text layer and the beat are above this animation. So what we need to just do is click and hold and bring it below these two layers. One will play. And see, this is what I'm talking about. You see, in this situation, now we can easily say, okay, we can easily go back to this group and change and do whatever I want to do here. But you can see the layers that we have here. We have 9 layers here total. Imagine we now have that layer here in our main composition. Since it's going to get crowded quickly. So we don't want that. So now let's extend these layers too. Let me select all layers and click to extend all of them to 7 seconds. All right. But now you can see what we have here is a transition. And this is not just a transition. It's a transition and a background. Because you can see after that transition, we now have the background and this last part of the animation. So I guess you're taking what I'm taking also. What we need to do now is create an empty group again and animate this inside that empty group. As simple as that. All right. So let's go back to the beginning of our composition and let's add an empty group. And let's make sure that our empty group is within the composition area. So say fit composition area. So go to that group. So here's it. Now, take a look at the what we have here. It's a very simple animation. Let me see. Very simple one. We'll first have this one scaled out, then this one scale in to fill the whole composition. Very simple animation. And I also feel like we can also add this other part. Yeah. You get. So, all right. So now let's start. Now let's start. How are we going to create this ring? Now let's check our shape layer. Let's see. Yeah, this is our shape layer. We don't have that, but we have this. We can use this to create this ring. It's very simple. So all we just need to do is click to add it to our composition. And let's go to our move and transform first, and let's reset location. So make sure that it's at the center of our composition. All right, so now let's go back. Go to your edit shape. Okay. Now this is an arc. It's called an arc. But if you take a look at what we have here, we have a ring, say donut or whatever. So now we want these two to join together so that we can use it as a ring. Okay, that is very simple. You can see that all we just have to do here is make our end value 0. But if you do that, you can see that you will not see that arc again. So a little arc, a little arc for you is just to make it probably -1, and that'll work. You see, so now maybe that thickness is not there. We can just easily, we can easily go to our border and what's it called? Our border and shadow, and increase the thickness. So I think something like this is fine. Okay, now for the color, let's go with the color that we choose. But I think this one is too light. So probably I'll just put it down like this and just bring it down like this. Okay, so that's fine. All right. So now how are we going to create this simple animation? Now, let's also add a cycle. Get. So for this cycle, let's reset location to make sure it's at the center of the composition. And let's just scale it down first. Let's scale it down like this. And let's add color. Now let's choose this color. Automatically I don't know why it's not copying the color straight up. Orange flower. Let's see. Okay, maybe that trick will work. All right. So now let's start by animating this arc there, followed by the cycle. So now let's animate this arc. Let's go to edit shape, and we're going to use the radius. The radius here. We want to animate the radius. Okay. I guess our lights, okay, that's free. So let's just close and restart it. All right, so here's it. Okay, so now let's go back to our group. Here's it. Where is this our arc? So we're going to start the animation. Let me turn off this. Okay. So now let's start animating our arc. Create a keyframe. Let's go to around 1 second. Might probably bring it down, but let's see how it goes. And let's scale it out like this. It's going to go outside the proportion. Now let me just so that I can see what's going on. Probably not too much like this. All right. So okay. Now made a mistake. It's very good that I made this mistake so that you can see what's going on. In order to animate your effects, always make sure that it's highlighted. You can see the issue we have. Let me undo that and bring our arc back to some but you can see that I actually mistakenly add a keyframe on the start value. But we are not animating the start value. So let me just remove that. We are not actually animating the radius. So always make sure it's highlighted like this. Then you add a keyframe. See? So now it's showing that there's a keyframe on this layer. So I can now go to 1 second and let me scale this out. Like this. And let's go back to the first keyframe and actually bring this down to 0. Right, so now for play, yeah, probably a little bit too slow. So let me just drag this in a bit. So add intent frame and let me make it start fast. Probably slow down towards the end. I don't know. It seems like they happen to freeze again. All right. So please, if you have a suggestion on how I can make this better and prevent it from crashing, you can just let me know. All right. So let's go back again. We're almost done. We're almost done. Okay. Now this is a group. Let's go inside our group. Now for play. Okay. And I think I can just bring that in a little bit. So to edit shape, make sure the radius is highlighted. And let's just bring it in like this. Let's see how it goes. All right. Simple as it. But for that, I also want to add a blur effect to it. So let's go to our blur here. And probably let's add, should I? Maybe we should add, let's add a motion blur. Let's see how it goes. So that's, yeah, probably you can see the effect, but that's fine. Okay, now, so as this animates, let's see our sample. Just before it animates out, the cycle also start animating. So I'll say around this point. Now I feel like I should just increase the thickness of this. So let me just increase the thickness like this. Now that's fine. All right, so now let's turn on our cycle and let's go to the scale. I'll add a keyframe at the beginning. Let's just bring down the scale down to 0. And let's go forward to around, let's say 1 second this time. And let's scale it. This situation, we're scaling it now to fill the whole composition, which will now serve as our background. So here's it. So let's go to our curve. Let's make it start fast and slow down towards the head like this. So now let's play this. As simple as that. So now you can still go in and modify these to get wherever you want, but that's fine. Okay. Now, I see the next one we have here is our text. It has a special kind of animation, but surprisingly, we can do this in Alight Motion too. So let's start by imputing our text. Click and go to text. Now, let me just choose the font. We want to use the metal black, and let's make this white before starting our text. All right, so now let's start. It's going to be shade. Oh, shade. Shape, shade, shave. Now, I want to go to the next line and spark. Next line, width. Your next line, go to next line, and then share. The last one from sorry about that. Big. Okay, so we have all of this now. Now, but you can see the issue we have. Okay, number one, our text, our fonts that we choose is not the same with this. So you can try and match the text we have in our big Niger. But we are going to go with this. So you can say that the amount of space we have between each text is too much. Now, in order to solve that, we can just go to our effects, go to add effects, and go to our text tab here. And you can see we have a text spacing. Just click, we had it. Now, the one we want to deal with is the line spacing, because the line spacing between each of these texts is too much. But depending on the font that you're using, some fonts, maybe it's good to go, but this is how you solve this situation, these issues. So now you can see, reduce the spacing between each text like this. So I don't think it's going to, okay, the app has crashed again. Right, so let me reopen it again. So I'm sure if you guys are able to recreate this tutorial, you understand a lot about Alight Motion and how to create stuff like this. All right, so now let's go to the group again and back to our line spacing. Probably let me just bring it out a little bit. It's too much. So something like this. All right, now let's go to our position and let me just reposition it. Something like this. Now I can scale it. Let me just scale it. Like this. So we have something like this. Something like this. Okay. So now how are we going to create this this kind of animation for the text? It's very simple. So for something like this. Now, I easily do that by going to our add effects, go to the text tab, and we have what we call the text transform. I'm sure by now, if I'm following this tutorial, you can see where we've used this text transform. So you can just go with the standard setting for now. All right. Now, based on the animation we have here, you can see that each text, each letter fades in. And they don't just fade in sequentially, they fade in randomly. So there's just something you need to do to get this effect. All right. So now let's go to our transform. Like I said, we are not working with the offset. We are not working with the angle. We are not working with the scale, the stretch. What we are working with is the alpha. So now let's go to our alpha and just make it -1. So -1 simply means we reduce the opacity of everything. So now if we go to our random and we start playing around with it, you can see we now have the animation. But you can see we have it's animating in sequentially. And we don't want that. So let me go back. Let's just animate it actually. Let me go here and add a keyframe. And probably let's go forward to around 3 seconds. We can increase that, and let us make this 100%. That means we want to animate everything. All right. So if we play, Okay, so probably too fast. So don't worry, I'm going to show you the secret button you're going to activate to make all of this random. Okay, so now let me just make this 6 seconds long. Let me go here. I like this to this one. Let's extend it to 6 seconds. All right. Now, like I said, this one maybe it's too fast, so let me just move it to around 4 seconds. So click, go to our text transform, to arrange, and move this to around 4 seconds. All right. So play. All right. Now here comes the secret button. So now to make this animating randomly, you can see we already have it. It's called random order. So you can just tick, just activate it. If you drop it down, you can see you can change the seed. Probably you don't like how it looks, so you can always change the seed. So simple as that. Now you know, now you can create something like this. So you can see, boom. So that's it. All right, so now let's go back to our main composition. And you can see this one is already covering everything. So let's turn it off first. So let's say just when all of this animates in, so let's say around 4 second, 5 frame. First off, let's bring this one. Okay, let's bring it below this 2 layer, which is our logo and our art pick Nigeria. Okay, now let's click and hold and drag it to we have a certain point where our player is. So we're here. And now let's turn on the high icon. And now let's play the animation. See. Okay, simple start. All right, so let me just move it around. Though the main animation is 10 seconds long, so probably we just have to make it 10 seconds. So let me just bring this down to 10 seconds like this. Okay, now we can just select all the layers and trim all of them to 10 seconds. That's fine. But for this layer, this one ends around somewhere here, so we can just trim it off, but no problem. It's not affecting anything. So here's the final animation. You can see. So, guys, that's how you create this simple animation in Alight Motion. Like I said, the essence of this tutorial is just to show you how to use the tools in Alight Motion to create stuff like this. I know you may be like, okay, yeah, this is simple, but look at it now. It's what Big is using. Big are using this type of animation to at least pass message and market their product. Again, so since you can create this simple animation in Alight Motion, I urge you to dive deep into these tools and learn it. If you have any question, and if you are on our group, WhatsApp group, you can just drop your question there and we will attend to it. All right. So don't forget to share. Very important, because this is a free tutorial. So share with your friends, and don't forget to like. Also very important. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. All right. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.